So I make this and then, okay. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we are continuing on the topic of Sadhu Ninda, offense to a sadhu. Last week we covered what is sadhu, who is a sadhu. Now we are going to cover on the other side what is Ninda. So before that, we have the Gopala Champu, and as usual, we will continue from Gopala Champu. And once the Gopala Champu story is done, then we'll resume Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu discussion. So Gopala Champu, now we are entering into the third chapter. In the third chapter, we have the pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam described from the beginning of birth of Krishna all the way unto he went to Dwaraka and then he killed many demons. All these things are described, but with lot of Vrindavan mood. All the pastimes are described with more focus on Vrindavan or Vraja mood. So, 2% so far, what has happened? So, Krishna is doing his daily day-to-day activities, and two persons have come from far off. They are Madhukanta and Snigdhakanta. They are brothers. They are twins and brothers. One of them is elder, though. Madhukanta is the elder boy. These two are bards, and they are going to narrate the story of Krishna's pastimes. So that is what, in nutshell, it is going to happen. Throughout the Gopala Champu, they will be present. They will be narrating the pastimes. We will enter into the story today. So one day, Krishna woke up. That is the next day, whatever we have described. The previous night, he went to sleep in his room, and then there were the gopis were also there, and they were trying to help Krishna to sleep as well. So Krishna slept, and then the next morning, Krishna woke up. Along with Balram, he started performing his morning duties as he usually performs. So he went and took his breakfast, and he went and offered his obeisances to Nanda Maharaj. Then Nanda Maharaj told him that, Krishna, that before you take the cows to the forest, which usually Krishna does, he says, you feed very nice fresh grass to the cows or the calves, so that when they have to walk for a long distance to the forest, they won't feel very hungry. They have to go for a long trekking and through the forest and into the mountains and all. And for that, they need good energy. So in the morning, they feed their cows with nice grass. And after that, they take the cows to the field in the forest entire day. So Nanda Maharaj asked them to feed the cows first, and then you take a breakfast yourself, and then you go out. So then Krishna and Balram, they went and served the cows with fresh grass, and after that they went to their room to take breakfast, and they were served by excellent breakfast. And they were served by Mother Yashoda and Rohini with excellent breakfast. And these breakfasts were actually cooked by Sri Radha and her friends. Under that, all the gopis, under Radha's cooking guidance, or she being a chef, everybody else cooked. And then these were served by Yashoda and Rohini. So Krishna was eating that food, and then he made the two mothers smile very happily. And because the way he was joking with his friends while he was taking food, he it looked like a festival for the two mothers, and in that way he was making both of them very happy. So after Krishna has taken his meals, uh, Krishna was still continuing to have conversation with his friends. And the Rohini, who was so much having affection toward Krishna, she was continuously watching Krishna without her eyes taking off. She she relishes how Krishna interacts with his friends, how he takes this food and then he puts in his mouth. In this way, every movement of Krishna was relished by Mother Rohini. Then at that time, an order came from Nanda Maharaj. So a boy brought the order to Krishna and then he delivered it to Krishna. He said that Nanda Maharaj is calling all of you to come to the assembly hall because these two sons of Ratnachuda, basically Snigdakanta and Madhukanta, they are present in that assembly, and Nanda Maharaj is asking you to come. Then Krishna took the permission of her mother and then he went swiftly to that particular place. So, where the assembly of Nanda Maharaj was gathered, it was in the courtyard. So, they have a huge courtyard. And in that courtyard, a lot of people can sit, thousands and thousands of people can sit. Very nice courtyard with all around uh, pillars, nice established pillars were kept with a nice lattice work. So a big entrance was kept for the backyard so that people could freely enter that and freely leave that particular place. And within that courtyard, different people were seated differently. The Brahmanas were sitting on one side, and the Vaishyas, who were basically living there in Vrindavan, they were seated in one place. So in this way, they are all separately seated, and in the middle, they have a nice simhasan. What do you call that in English? Throne. A nice jeweled throne was kept. And in that jeweled throne, that is made for both Krishna and Balaram to sit along with his friends. So Krishna and Balaram went there and then they sat in that excellent throne. And then there was also a separate place kept for Nanda Maharaj to sit very nicely. So Nanda Maharaj is king of Vraja. So we'll see that how Nanda Maharaj, even though a Vaishya, he became a king of Vraja soon, but he was seated very nicely there. Then in that place, the two bards' sons, that is Snigdakanta and Madhukanta, they were brought. And they, with their folded hands, they were offering obeisances to Nanda Maharaj and through the entire assembly. So all of them were pricing very nicely to these two boys for their excellence in narrating different songs. They were glorifying Krishna very nicely. So all of them were excellently praised by the assembly. So they were mentioning that the poets were discussing, debating among themselves. What the poets were debating among themselves, when they see Krishna, they are seeing as if um, a, a sky, a beautiful sky or beautiful blue lotus, and then that is filled with a cluster of bees. So that is Krishna's hairs. So Krishna's hairs are very dark and curly. And because Krishna's hairs were dark and curly, they look like as if this bumblebees. And the Krishna's face, which was very blue, it was looking like blue lotus. So some people were saying that is blue lotus. Some poets were discussing, no, that is river Yamuna. So river Yamuna is very dark in color. So it looks like dark in color. So in this way, they were just debating. The poets were debating among themselves how Krishna looks. Some poets were saying, no, he's looking like the lightning. The flash of lightning is standing there in the dark sky. It looks like that. So this way they were debating. So then in that assembly, Madhumangal came. Then Madhumangal, as soon as Madhumangal came, he brought also joy within him. So everybody became very enthusiastic to see Madhumangal. Then after Madhumangal, Yashoda came. Yashoda came and then sat there in a very nice place. So Yashoda was, the women were not sitting along with the men, so they have the separate place, separate room allocated for them. And then that room was closed by lattice work. So through the lattice work, they see what's happening there. So then Nanda Maharaj looked at the two boys. The two boys' names are Madhukanta and Snigdakanta. So he said, "Oh, Madhukanta and Snigdakanta, we want to hear from you. So please tell a story to us." So then both the boys, they folded their hands and then they were asking Nanda Maharaj, "What story, what topic do you want us to tell?" Then Nanda Maharaj said, so you know so many things because you're bards. So why don't you just tell about our own dynasty? Nanda Maharaj is asking to describe our own dynasty, what happened in their dynasty. So then they were very happy that Nanda Maharaj has asked to describe the dynasty of Nanda. And but they were confused. Who should speak? Should Madhukanta speak or Snigdakanta speak? So in this way, they put that question back to Nanda Maharaj. Who should speak? Nanda Maharaj then said, "You can take turns. One day Madhukanta can speak, one day Snigdakanta can speak." So in this way, this whole story is going to happen across multiple days. Every day in the morning, they will all assemble together and then they'll hear from Madhukanta and Snigdakanta. In the evening, they will hear and then hear from them. And then it will end and then keep on repeating every day. So Nanda Maharaj said, "Yeah, you can take turns, each one of you, but then first let the elder brother begin." So among Madhukanta and Snigdakanta, the elder brother is Madhukanta. So then he started reciting a invocation prayer, offering obeisances to Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Parikshit, Shukadeva Goswami, to everyone. So when they are narrating, it is not like the modern day where we are sitting in the temple uh, very gravely and then we are giving a class. So they used to have this musical thing going on. So some people will be sitting around the reciter, narrator, and they will perform music as the person is reciting. The person will be sometimes he will be speaking prose, story he will be telling, and then suddenly he will recite verses. These verses are freshly composed verses. Sometimes they quote from Bhagavatam and other places. On the fly only they will compose verses. So these were the power they were having. And when they are telling the story, they will also act it out. Not fully they will act it out. Some of the expressions they will act it out. Oh, everybody was looking with wonder, like that, they will act it out. And then Krishna came walking like this. So much action will be there. That's how they were reciting the story and making everybody get absorbed in that. Singing will be there. Suddenly they will put a song and then they will sing, and then the music will go on. And suddenly they will start dancing, the narrator who is doing, and then suddenly he will act out the emotion. So in this way, they will narrate the story. And in this way, when the story is narrated, the audience becomes absorbed in that story. Then, when the audience become absorbed in the story, they will feel the emotions of the characters being narrated. In some of the sampradayas, it is still being done in this way. I think even in ISKCON also, some of the devotees started doing in this way as well. And they are uh, when they are telling stories, especially. We have Leela Kirtan also in Sadhu Sangha, where in the Leela Kirtan, with the music and everything, they are telling the story. So then Madhukanta uh, begins the story, start telling about the story. So we'll stop here because here onwards another new section starts. How the history of Krishna, his lineage, where it started, and then how Vasudeva and Nanda Maharaj are related. All these things will be narrated. So then we will continue our Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu presentation. Anybody has anything want to share before? Okay, I will continue. Recap what we have covered so far. We have covered primary rasas and secondary rasas. These were discussed in the western and northern sections of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Then we have covered Mangalacharan verses and what is Uttama Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, and what is the roadmap for pure Bhakti. That also we have discussed. And within that roadmap, most of us are in the stage of Anartha Nivritti. So the destruction of anarthas is very important for us. So we discussed about the destruction of anarthas. And within that anarthas, the difficult anarthas that is to be destroyed is the 10 nama pradas. So we started discussing about the 10 nama pradas. The first aparadha is sadhu ninda, criticizing Vaishnavas, sadhus. So we in the previous class we discussed who is a sadhu. Sadhu can be in multiple levels, Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. Now, getting into so, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, this is the overview. You have four sections in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu: East, South, West, and North. So, we have covered this West and North part, which it talks about primary rasa and secondary rasa. Now, we are into Eastern section. In the Eastern section, we are talking about Bhakti. So, within the Eastern section, we have four chapters. We are into the first chapter, which talks about overview of Bhakti. And within that, we have covered Mangalacharan and what is the definition of Uttama Bhakti. So we are taking a little bit detour here to describe about the Anartha Nivritti stage, specifically in Uttama Bhakti. So Sadhu is being described. Who is a Sadhu, a Vaishnava? So what is Ninda? When we say that we should not criticize a Vaishnava, what does it mean that we should not criticize the Vaishnava? So that is being described here. This is a verse from Skanda Purana. It is quoted in Bhakti Sandarbha 265.3. So we'll recite this verse. Nindam kurvanti ye mudha Vaishnavanam Mahatmanam Patanti Pitrubhi Sardham Maharaurava Sanyate Hanti Nindati Vaidveshti Vaishnavanna Abhinandati Krudhyate Yati No Harsham Darshane Patanani Shat. So, Nindam kurvanti ye muda, those fools who does ninda toward Vaishnavas, who are Mahatmas, they will fall down, patanti, along with their forefathers into the hell known as Maharaurava. There is a hell called Maharaurava, where a particular animal called Ruru is there. It will just tear down the body of the person. So we should not do Ninda to Vaishnavas because it's a lot of suffering will be there. So what is Ninda? The next point, this particular phrase is talking about what is Ninda. The six types of Ninda you can perform toward a Vaishnava. Ninda here is transgression. One, killing the Vaishnavas, which is obviously if a person kills a Vaishnava, he is going to suffer very severely. So that is a Ninda. The second is criticizing a Vaishnava. So, criticizing a Vaishnava means there are faults that are there in the Vaishnavas. Rupa Goswami says that a bhakta, even until the stage of bhava, you will be able to find out faults. Only in prema stage, they won't have any faults. Until the stage of bhava, he will have faults. So, the faults are going to be there in Vaishnavas. Discovering it and announcing it or externally speaking about it or gossiping about it, that is criticizing a Vaishnava. Faults are there, we are just opening that fault and then speaking about it. That is criticism. Hating the Vaishnavas, dveshti, hating the Vaishnavas. We should not hate a particular Vaishnava also. Hating the Vaishnava will create this offense, that is also Ninda. In our heart, this is more like internally, in our using our mind, we have a dislike feeling toward that particular person. So that is hating the Vaishnava. That is also Ninda. Not greeting the Vaishnavas. When you see a particular Vaishnava, you should say, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna Mataji. If you don't do, that is also an offense because you're just ignoring. Who cares if he comes or not comes? Let him come. That is an offensive attitude toward Vaishnava. Because that particular Vaishnava also carries bhakti within him. When we ignore the person, the bhakti within that person is also ignored. So therefore, whether the person comes or not, I'm not going to greet the Vaishnava. We say Hare Krishna. Of course, in a big festival, it will be difficult to just say Hare Krishna to everyone. We say as much as possible, and then we offer our obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. But whomever we are interacting with, we greet them nicely with a um, nice face. Getting angry at Vaishnavas, that is also Ninda. Sometimes we get angry and then just show our anger or fight with them. That is also Ninda. Especially this becomes problematic within a family. Within a family, if both the persons are Vaishnavas, we need to, that is also Vaishnava aparadh. If we are just, doing all of these things, criticizing, hating, not greeting, or getting angry at that person, that also affects us very much. So we need to work on ourselves um, to not to do these offenses toward uh, other Vaishnavas, especially who are part of our family. So the last offense is not becoming happy upon seeing Vaishnavas. When you see a Vaishnava, you should become joyful actually. And say, hey, I have met a Vaishnava person. See, in today's day and age, ISKCON has created a huge amount of Vaishnavas. So we are taking it for granted sometimes. But it is actually quite difficult to see a Vaishnava, somebody who is appreciating Krishna. Especially we can feel that when we go to office, if there is no Vaishnava there, everybody is around us like, non-Vaishnavas. So we can see the dearth of Vaishnava there, the presence of Vaishnava. So we should become very joyful upon seeing Vaishnava. We should not like, why did this guy come? Why did this woman come? Not like that. So doing all these activities is Ninda. We should avoid all these activities. So there is a question here, which is Hare Krishna Prabhu, what should we do if other devotee doesn't respond to our greetings even after multiple attempts on multiple occasions for our peace? Shall we stop? Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if he would doesn't want to get disturbed and he doesn't like to talk to us, we can maintain distance. We look at that if when others are criticizing us or doing these things, how are we supposed to respond quickly? But yeah, uh, uh, we don't need to go and voluntarily disturb them. Whenever they are reciprocative, we tell them Hare Krishna, and if they are not reciprocative, we can let them go on their own without being disturbed. But the mentality is, he didn't respond to me, so I'm not going to respond. Not like that. More like, let me just not disturb him. That attitude. Of course, I have also lot of anarthas to go for a distance. But this is teaching of the acharyas and it is for all of us. So, just as it is an offense to do all these activities to a Vaishnava, it is also an offense to hear the criticism of another Vaishnava. I didn't do anything. Some other Vaishnava, some other devotee is just criticizing that random devotee. I'm just hearing and then giving them a reciprocal mood to, let their anger vent it out. If it becomes a criticism of some other devotee, hearing is also an offense. The sadhu sangha is for elevating all of us. The sadhu sangha is not to bring down people. So if two sadhus are getting together to criticize a third sadhu, that association is bringing down. That association is not sadhu sangha. Two persons get together, they elevate. What they do, they discuss about Krishna. They discuss about the glories of the devotees of Krishna. They discuss about Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. That will elevate the association rather than criticizing another person. That will bring down. So therefore, Sati in Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto, she says this verse in that. कर्णौ पिधाय निरयादितकल्पयीशे धर्मा वितर्य शृणुभिर्निर्भिर् माने चिन्त्यात् प्रहस्य प्रसह्य रुषतीम् असतीं प्रभुश्चेत् जिह्वामसूनपि ततो विसृजेत् सधर्म. Okay. So this is spoken by Sati. After Lord Shiva was insulted by Daksha in the sacrifice conducted by Daksha, Shiva left that place. Then after that, Shiva was not visiting to any of the functions conducted by Daksha because Daksha was not inviting him. So Shiva was also not going there. But then Sati wanted to go to another great sacrifice performed by Daksha, because Sati is the daughter of Daksha. So she wanted to very much to go there. But Shiva warned her that you don't go there. He will not respect you because of me. Despite Shiva's warning, Sati went there. And then she was not respected. She was not even invited. And then Daksha didn't even care to respond to her, even though she was his own daughter. This shows how much hatred he had for Lord Shiva. So, in that context, she spoke this verse about hearing the criticism of Vaishnava. Where a place, if you go to a place where a Vaishnava is being criticized, what should be done there? So I'm going to just minimize this. Yeah. Karnau Pidhaya. So you have to close your ears if somebody is criticizing a Vaishnava. Nirayad, you should go away. Saying Om Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, like that. If you are unable to handle the situation, Karano Pidhaya Nirayad, Akalpa, if you are unable to handle the situation, you close your ears and then you should just walk away. If you can handle the situation, Prabhu Chet, if you are like the controller of the place, if you are like an administrator, or if you have authority, or if you are in the olden days a king or something like that, then when a devotee is being criticized by irresponsible people, asrinbi, irresponsible people or uncontrolled people. Asrini means uncontrolled. Generally, an elephant has to be controlled by a goad. The person who is controlling the elephant, he will have a goad in his hand. It's an instrument, to pinch on the elephant's head to control it. Uncontrolled elephant without a goad, that is called a shrini. The people who are uncontrolled like that elephant, they let their tongue speak whatever they want. So that persons who are irresponsible, Prabhupada translates as irresponsible here. They'll just simply, criticize other people. When they are criticizing, they say you should cut their tongue if you are capable. Chindya prasakya forcefully, rosatim asatim, the person's tongue. And then asunapi tataha visrijet, and then you should give up your life also. That is the dharma. That is the correct thing to do. Now it looks very extreme. Is anybody doing like that? So at least this, the part of cutting out the tongue and giving up life, it should not be taken in very literally. At least in the modern day, we cannot take it very literally. If we cannot go and cut it out to somebody else's tongue. So the safest thing for us to do is just to close our ears and then leave that place. But why these statements are given here? Because this shows the seriousness of the criticism, hearing the criticism. One should go to the extent of cutting the other person's tongue and give up on one's own life. It is that much severe. uh. So we should just close our ears and then leave that place. In some situations, we may not be able to leave the place also because of structural obligations. Sometimes a senior Vaishnava may be criticizing, or, or so-called senior Vaishnava. We may be just serving under that person or whatever. When that's our friend whom we are very much obligated to, very difficult sometimes to give feedback. So in those situations, we should try to change the topic. If possible, we should just change the topic to something else. Or in worst case, we should escape with our mind. We are basically not focusing our attention on the conversation. So we can think of ourselves, something else in our mind. We can escape, we can leave that place with our mind. Those things we can do. The Draupadi, when she was being disrobed in the assembly of Kauravas and being, criticized, Bhishma and others, they did not object to that. They were standing there and watching. They did not leave that place also. So, therefore, all the people who are listening to that thing or watching that, they all became implicated in that offense. Though they did not perform the offense, it was Dushasana who was performing the offense under the control of Duryodhana. All of the people who are watching that, they became implicated in the offense. So when a person becomes implicated in the offense, what happens? He gets suffering as a result. His sinful reaction, it will come definitely. He will get suffering. And if he has fortune, he will lose the fortune. And he will get loss of taste or faith in bhakti. So the taste in bhakti or the faith in bhakti will reduce. So much nicely I will be performing. I have listened to somebody's criticism of offense. Suddenly the taste in bhakti will start disappearing. It looks a little bit severe. However, once the offender goes through, and then we have heard some Vaishnava's offense, if we go through the suffering, again the faith in bhakti will manifest. It's not like we are gone forever. So Krishna doesn't simply leave us, even though we have sometimes committed offenses. But we need to be very, very careful. Because after we have to go through a lot of suffering, and then we will get a Shraddha in Bhakti, and then we will start the whole process again. So we don't want that much gap to be there. So we have to be very, very careful. There is a question, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, if Shamalingi Mataji, if other devotee assumes we are angry with them, but we are not, is that also Ninda? So this is a little bit unavoidable. We can only do our best. If other person thinks that we are angry at them, that also has some impact. So we hear the story of Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami, one time he was meditating on the pastimes of Krishna, and then there was a devotee who was passing by, and then Rupa Goswami, in his meditation, he laughed at a particular thing. But then the devotee who was walking, he thought, Rupa Goswami is laughing at me because of the way he was walking, because he was a little bit handicapped. So, because of the way he was walking, he thought. And because of that thought, he attributed the fault to Rupa Goswami. So, Rupa Goswami's meditation got broke. Though it was not an offense committed by Rupa Goswami, the meditation got broke. Of course, this story is not there in any standard books. It is a hearsay story. How much it is true, how much it is not true, and whether it was Rupa Goswami who went through this or not, we don't know for sure. But it is showing one particular thing, that as long as we have the material body, this thing is little bit impossible to avoid also, that somebody attributing faults upon us. But Krishna is there. So though we may get some effects, we will continue to progress. We try our best. But what we should not be doing is actively going and committing Ninda, or um, hearing or standing in a place where the Ninda of a Vaishnava is happening without taking any action when we have control, or just not leaving the place. That we should definitely avoid it. Same way, Daksha also criticized Shiva uh, for not honoring him. Shiva was sitting there and then he was meditating on the Lord. Daksha thought that Shiva is not standing up and then he was not giving respect to me. And because of that, Daksha criticized Shiva, and for that he had to endure suffering. His head was cut off. Very severe reaction. Because Shiva was a Uttama Bhakta. The greater the devotee, the more the suffering and more loss of taste in bhakti. Even though later Narada Muni came and tried to preach to Daksha, Daksha was not getting convinced. Instead, he again criticized Narada Muni. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in that context, he explains the Daksha's offense towards Shiva, it was staying in his heart as a seed form, even after he asked forgiveness. And after that, that seed was coming out as another offense toward Narada. So in this way, it goes on and on. So we have to be very, very careful. Now, what if somebody else criticizes us? Is that a ninda? Because we say that as soon as a ninda is happening, we should leave that place immediately. When somebody is criticizing us, it is not considered ninda. Rather, we should take that criticism as an opportunity to remove our past offenses or past sinful reactions. Just like if I get a $1 billion of money in stock trading or whatever, that is my past pious activity that has come as a result. And as soon as I get the money from my stock market venture, I exhausted my piety, and that piety is over. Similarly, when I go through misery, my past sinful reaction is over. So when we are going through some misery, especially the misery caused by criticism, we should thank the person because that person has removed our past sins. And this is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti is saying. And it is also an opportunity when somebody criticizes us, we feel hurt. It is not that we don't feel hurt, we feel very happy about it. We just go on with life. We feel hurt, we feel lowly, we feel very humbly. So when that situation comes to us on its own accord to us, we take that opportunity to um, take shelter of Krishna. We don't need to stand there and get criticized. We can walk away from that place and we don't need to approach the person again who is going to criticize us. We can maintain distance. But when that incident has happened and then we feel lowly, we feel very down, that is the time we can take shelter of Krishna. Because as we feel lowly, we feel very, very down. And that is the time we feel helpless. And it is easy to absorb ourselves to Krishna at that time. Because when you do bhakti at that time, it becomes much more powerful. It will give you much more result because you're already in a humble state. You should perform bhakti with a humble state. But because we have been beaten down, we are in a very, very humble state. So when we surrender to the Lord, when we just pray to Krishna and then chant names or read about his pastimes and try to remember Krishna, then it becomes much more elevating in bhakti. We will get more results from bhakti in that situation rather than doing it the situation when we are really happy. And as well, we don't proclaim ourselves as a Vaishnava. We don't go and say around, I'm a sadhu, don't criticize me. We take a very humble position. We try to think ourselves very, very lowly. As we advance in bhakti, we will become more and more, those qualities will manifest. Mahaprabhu, when he says you should think of yourself as lower than a grass and humbler than a tree, all these qualities will automatically manifest. We don't need to cultivate them. But when an opportunity presents itself to us, when we have been beaten down, we can take that opportunity to use in the service of the Lord so that we can quickly advance. Sometimes some devotees will criticize some devatas, like for example, Indra. Oh, this Indra, he always does some nefarious activities. That is a criticism of Indra, and Indra is also a devotee of the Lord. When we are reading the pastimes, especially Indra offends Krishna, we can put a lot of emotions and express that, and we can narrate that. That's not a problem. That is glorious. But when we criticize Indra for that, that is a problem. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when the devatas in the pastimes of Krishna, when they do mistakes like this, like what Indra did, they are under the control of the internal Shakti of the Lord. So the Lord bewilders them. And in that way, they were enhancing the pastimes of Krishna. Therefore, it is not really a fault of them. So we shouldn't be criticizing them separately like that. Same way, we shouldn't be criticizing Shastras also in general. Suppose we have committed an offense to a Vaishnava, we have criticized him. What should we do? We should feel repentant. First thing, that I have committed such a mistake, criticism. I shouldn't be doing that. And we should recognize that it is lowly of me that to have committed such a offense to another Vaishnava. And then we should lament about it. I should never do like this. What a lowly person I am. Then you should come before the Vaishnava who you have committed that offense. Then offer dandavats to that person. And then you should glorify that person until he becomes satisfied. Generally, the Vaishnavas get satisfied. They are um, merciful. They get easily satisfied. The greater the Vaishnava, the greater the offense. So we have to do such remedy toward that. But suppose our offense is so great that the Vaishnava is not satisfied, what we should do? Vishwanath Chakravarti says that we should be ready to comply with the wish of that Vaishnava for many days. Whatever he says, we should be ready to do that. As long as he gets satisfied. For many days, we should try to do that. Sometime the Vaishnavas, other Vaishnavas' anger may be great because our offense is so great. We have committed a great offense. We have cheated him or we have slapped him or whatever. So great we have offenses or we have criticized in front of the entire public that particular person. So it is so great that his anger is not subsiding, that other Vaishnavas. Even though we try to go and ask forgiveness and we do so many things to satisfy that Vaishnava. So in that situation, what should we do? So we should take shelter of Nama Sankirtan, holy name, at that time. We should think ourselves of so lowly that for this offense we may get the reaction in the future. We should be thinking like that. But we should take shelter of the holy name and then we continuously continue to chant the holy name every day. And by the power of Nama Kirtan, this offense will be soon removed. Even though the Vaishnava's anger that did not go down, because we are continuing the Namakirtan, it will go down. That the offense will be removed soon. But because of this, we should not think that, oh, anyways, Namakirtan is actually removing the offense. Why should I go and embarrass myself onto the lotus feet of another devotee whom I have criticized? What is the use of falling at that person's feet and then admitting my offense? Let me just not do that. Let me just take shelter of the holy name. I'll continue to chant. And then the name will remove that offense. If we think like that, then it becomes another offense called committing sinful actions on the strength of the holy name, which we will look at it later. So that becomes an offense. Then we start committing that offense. So therefore, we should not do like that. So in the past class, we also saw who is a sadhu. We described many qualities of a sadhu. He is merciful, he is so great, and he is peaceful, and he is not disturbed by the dualities like that. So if we think that, oh, when I criticized that Vaishnava, that Vaishnava had also bad qualities within him. That is why I criticized. He is not a Vaishnava who has all good qualities that are described in the scripture. He was not like merciful. He was not having. He was very tolerant. He was not like a person like that. He didn't have so much mercy, kindness. He had some problems. If we say that and justify our own criticism by pointing out the fault in the other devotee, then we are minimizing the offense that we have committed. When we minimize that offense, then that also becomes that gives greater effect. We are we are criticizing another time that devotee that he has some defect within it. So we shouldn't be doing that as well. That is also an offense. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Apichechu Duracharo, that even the person of a lowly character, when he takes shelter of Krishna, he will get purified. So we shouldn't, because he has some lowly character, periodically, not continuously. If a person is having lowly character, that person is a lowly person. Periodically, he may show some lowly character because of these past anarthas, but he is continuously practicing Krishna consciousness properly. That person we should not go and criticize because soon those lowly qualities will be removed from that person. Again, we can maintain distance. It doesn't mean that we should go and associate with the person who is having a lot of bad qualities. We can maintain distance, but we don't need to go and criticize the person for the faults. Sometimes we criticize a devotee, and that devotee does not get angry. So should we just leave it? Because anyways, he didn't become angry. No, we should still ask forgiveness. Why? Because the Vaishnava, because of his own nature, he may not get angry. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the act of criticism itself will give back the results. So he poetically explains. He says the dust at the lotus feet of the Vaishnava will give the result. The Vaishnava may forgive, but the dust at the feet of the devotee, it will not tolerate the offense performed to the Vaishnava, which means the act of criticism itself will give back the fruits, that is, suffering and loss of faith and taste in bhakti. So, therefore, even the Vaishnava may not have felt any anger toward you because you have committed an offense, has shown your anger or criticized that person. You should still ask forgiveness. But sometimes we see stories like here, we are seeing the story of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu was beaten by Jaga and Madai in the head, and blood was bleeding. But what was the result? Did they go through any suffering? No, they got prema. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and blessed, and then they got prema. Oh, this looks not like what you are mentioning. They got prema for committing offense toward a great Vaishnava, who is Nityananda Prabhu. He's a great Mahabhagavat. He's, of course, Lord himself, but then he's acting in the role of a Mahabhagavat. And then we see the same thing in the case of Jada. When Jada was carrying the palanquin of King Rahugana, Rahugana criticized Jada. What are you keep on shaking and then walking like this? And then he criticized severely Jada. Jada was liberated soul, great Vaishnava. But then we saw that he got actually elevated because of that offense. What is happening there? So, there in those situations, because of the fathomless mercy of the powerful Vaishnavas who spontaneously blessed with a lot of mercy, all these offenses were removed by the power of their very own mercy. In the case of Nityananda Prabhu, he bestowed so much mercy that the offense did not give any reaction to these persons. Same with Jada also. He also gave so much mercy. Sometimes an elevated Mahabhagavat spontaneously and will give fathomless mercy for even the offenders. Therefore, they escape the reactions of the offense. But that is not to be followed, because in many places we may not get the mercy at all. So we should be understanding these things properly. So the simple methodology when we commit an offense, we should first of all not commit an offense, but because of daiva, because of force and sudden moment, uh, we are there standing there, and then person said something. Immediately we got angry, and then we frustrated. We just shouted at that person. We didn't plan for it. Suddenly, at the spur of the moment, it has happened. So when we, as soon as we recognize that, we should follow these three steps: repent, lament, resolve. So repent. We should first repent that it was a mistake. We should lament that I'm such a lowly person. I have committed such an offense. Then we have to go and resolve by asking forgiveness from the devotee and try to glorify him and satisfy him. So that is the solution for Vaishnava Ninda. Anybody has any other questions, comment, reflections before we proceed further?
Hare
Okay.
Krishna Prabhu. I posted the question just now on the chat.
Yes. So, Prabhu, can we take the example of Romaharshan? Since he did not greet the Lord, it falls in Ninda. But there he didn't get the mercy from the same personality of God who bestowed mercy on Jagannath. Yes. He just took a grass and then he killed the person. Yeah, in that case, he did not bestow. But he bestowed that mercy to his son, Suta Goswami. So, Suta Goswami became a great uh, narrator of Bhagavatam. So that was mercy of Balram. It went to his son. Thank you. Very nice point.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so we have another 10 minutes. Should we continue or anybody has any other points to share? Because that's the next one is going to.
One question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then was.
So, Prabhuji, you have mentioned about this Vaishnava.
Yes.
In that, you said like someone may justify their own action.
Yeah.
So, it's, this is observed when the other Vaishnava is really hurt, right, with the someone's action. And as the etiquette says, we should not uh, reply them back or tell them or criticize them. So the only action to console someone is to justify that, okay, what wrong is being done with that guy, ourselves. So how this is, how this can be tackled, right? First thing. And second thing, if we are concentrating on how we are hurt, right? So how that becomes others Ninda, because when we are discussing like how we are hurt, obviously the other person will come into picture, right? So that's what.
So if I try to understand, sometimes some other devotee has hurt us, and we want to share with some other devotee, um, and it becomes a ninda because we got to start criticizing the other person. Is that what you're saying?
Not criticizing, telling like how we are hurt.
We can focus on how we are hurt instead of focusing on the bad qualities of the other person.
But that comes into picture, right? When we are
So therefore, we can take shelter of the Lord. I mean, we are hurt. Instead of going and talking about it to other person, and it will eventually lead to ninda when we start keep on rambling about it. The best solution is to take shelter of the Lord. We can write a poem to the Lord. We can write about it to the Lord, and then what we felt and things like that to the Lord. That will be a more effective method. Of course, we can share with others. I've been hurt by a devotee. A particular devotee has treated me like this. I feel so hurt. We can speak like that rather than, I think, without telling the name of the person. Or if we have a genuine complaint, we have, and we want to give it to an authority, we can definitely show that, this has happened, and this particular Vaishnava behaved like that, and this is not proper. We can tell to the authority, whoever is the authority, they can take actions accordingly. But delving into dwelling on the faults of the other Vaishnava is not a good idea if he is a Vaishnava.
Thank you for reminding that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sundarananda Prabhu, you want to add anything? Thank you for joining, Prabhu. Okay. Anybody else wants to add anything?
Prabhu, thank you for bringing up this.
Prabhuji, that was enough, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it, dealing with family members or close friends. Sometimes there can be familiarity breeds contempt. So we have to be careful about that as well, right? Do you want to add a few comments on that?
Yeah, which is also a bigger problem for me as well. So it took me a while to recognize that because within the family, we just fight, and then within the fight, we don't mind we saying anything. We just angrily shout at each other, which was obstructing my own bhakti to the Lord for some time until I recognized and started correcting myself within the family. Then I realized it is not actually not so difficult to practice it within the family, not criticizing, not shouting at anger, and not finding out faults. Needs to be little bit careful and with the proper mindset, looking at the person like a devotee and being fearful of committing an offense. That really helped me. And also a particular senior Vaishnava who has come to my life, and then he was telling, don't do like this, don't do like that. I revealed my problems to a particular Vaishnava. Then he actually, corrected me. He said that don't behave like this, give up this. That also helped me because as soon as the particular person said that, I was able to give up more faster than what I was trying to give up my anger. So those things helped me personally uh, within the family. Not, of course, I'm far from perfect, but I have changed a lot compared to what I used to be.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, so we will stop here. This completes the first offense. It is little bit, it may be discouraging for us, why we are talking about this negative topic. But this negative topic is essential because sometimes we are every day performing bhakti as good as we are supposed to, but there will be still lack of progress that will happen because of these offenses. This is the main offense out of the 10 offenses. The other offenses are much easier to rectify. The first offense is what quite difficult because we are a movement of lot of devotees, and as soon as two persons are going to be there, there is going to be friction. If we are alone, there is no friction, but two person as soon as come into the picture, there is going to be a friction. So it's little difficult to handle that situation. So therefore, we delved very much detail into that. The other offenses are little easier to avoid it and more like proper shastric understanding rather than changing anything in our nature. So this one requires us to change ourselves, our character. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue from next session. Thank you so much, devotees, for joining and purifying the association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Vasandhameva Pavane.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.